We live in an age where AI, as you all know, can actually write essays, design logos, even compose music, right? And the question is, what's left for us? Many believe our edge will be creativity, not just artistic talent, but the ability to imagine, connect, and act on ideas in uncertain times. Let's start on a human note. Could each of you share a moment in your career when you had to take a bold creative risk, where the outcome wasn't certain, but you went for it anyway? And what did that teach you about creative confidence?
Well, I think my entire career has been one big bold risk. I trained as a lawyer. I practiced for 6 years. And then in-house, that's still normal. I pivoted to government relations and then did a startup and then became head of innovation at Prudential. So huge career moves. Each time, people will go like, hey, you sure? But, exactly what Bill was saying about just taking the step, prototyping, doing small projects to show that, hey, actually, I like this stuff, and then making the jump. So that has been my story. And then today, I run my own firm. Again, it's small little steps, prototyping. Is this that direction we think the firm should be going?
I have started a lot of different ventures, and I failed a lot to the point that it just doesn't bother me at all. I started two startups that didn't work. I was really passionate about them. I was asked to leave a job I wasn't very good at. I think they made the right decision. I sent my resume everywhere, because I was highly qualified in my mind. But in interviews, they said, yeah, it doesn't look like you're really interested. And I really wasn't, so they didn't choose me. But I applied for my PhD. I didn't get in. I applied again. Over time, I think what really helped me was that I was always in love with the arts. And then I got into AI and machine learning. But it was always about tinkering. And the best part about being a software engineer is that you keep making mistakes and debugging. So it kind of started getting hardwired in my mind that it wasn't a big deal. So I've had successes, I've had failures, and many times I took risks. And right now I'm starting Singapore's first major AI podcast powered by Economic Development Board. I don't know if it's going to do well, but I'm going to give it my best shot. So I think that's what makes my life interesting, is kind of zigzagging through and trying interesting things.
That's cool.
I want to start from where Bill left off, being human, hopeful, and helpful. When I was in P5, and there was National Day, and the school say there is a National Day Chinese competition, and asked students to submit. So I thought, hey, quite cool. I want to share how I love my country. So I write something, and then the teacher said, no, you're not good enough. You cannot represent the class. And I was puzzled, like, why am I not good enough? So I told the teacher that, can you give me a chance? I will try. I'll keep trying until I can represent the class. So the teacher was quite, anyway, you can go and try. So it was my 5th attempt. And she finally said, okay, you're the 4th person that will represent the class. I think at the end, I managed to get a consolation prize. But I think that is about self-efficacy from my perspective. And that set the tone of what I want to do later in life. Is about not to let people define you and then figure out how to win the rules.
What do you think? Has creativity truly become the new superpower in the AI age? Or has it always been one, and what's it different now?
Yeah, I think that the mistake we've made in Asia especially is that we have relegated creativity to the arts. Whereas sciences, engineering, what is it if not creative? If you look at the great scientists, even today, they're constantly trying to get to the truth. And it's not deterministic. And I hope today's conversation is not art in the traditional sense of art. I think AI is very creative. I think literature is creative. I think economics is creative. I think mechanical engineering and robotics is creative. And in that, if you think about the help that you can get with AI. So for example, my friend is a PhD from University of Moscow. He's the CEO of In Silico, which is a company that uses generative AI to generate proteins from scratch in Hong Kong for faster drug discovery. He and his team had a lot to do with coming up with the ideas. They're all scientists. But with the help of AI, they have the first AI powered drug that is for idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. Took 18 months for them to find the target protein. I think he's incredibly creative, and AI has helped him.
Yeah.
It has supercharged him.
Wow. Aisha, in your field, is AI giving creativity superpowers, or is it replacing some creative skills?
I think that it's not replacing it, it's becoming an alternative source of enjoying creative output. So there's this whole debate on whether if a song is made by AI or not made by AI. Sting came out and said, really, songs should really only be made by humans. But I kind of disagree with that, because if it moves me, and what is art and music and emotionally moves me, then I would want to listen to it. And in fact, a lot of the pushback that we've seen in the art community is because they were not remunerated. They were not paid for the sampling of their music and their art. So it's being used in Hollywood. We have a lot of people now saying that they will, in the arts also, that they will use AI to actually be able to use it to do things faster, better, to really let their imagination fly. But again, let's not only talk about the arts. I just think it's healthcare, it's logistics, it's traditional art, it's everywhere. And it's giving people who didn't think they were creative, not so that you can become a photographer. That's a misconception. Try to be creative within your own field.
Yes.
Within what you love. I think that's where you can become creative.
What stops people from being creatively confident, especially here in Singapore?
Singaporeans will always say no time. Oh, right. Because we have our 9 to 5, we call it the BAU, right? Business as usual. There are all these KPIs we need to be delivering. So where do we have time to sit down and, do something new, right? Because creativity is really about doing something new, something better from that, right? So how do we get past the time factor? That's one. Number two, I think, is really about being a bit risk adverse, right? Well, if I just sit here and I deliver my job, right, the things that are actually in my KPIs, I'm going to do fine, right? But if I try this daring new project, maybe it works, but maybe it fails, then I'm in trouble. Also, we both think, right? So there's these things that inhibit people from trying, right? And also no time, right? So how do we solve for this? I think AI definitely helps.
It's supposed to give you more time.
Well, supposed to help you do the same task faster. So a data point, right? So in the spirit of experimentation, we tried this. We had an issue that we wanted to solve. We brought in all the usual suspects, the people from the marketing team, the sales team, the finance team, as usual, we bring them together. We ran a half-day workshop. Let's generate ideas. We use Post-its. We did everything, right? According to plan. We did empathize, define, and all of that. And then we ran the same problem through an AI tool with Post-its and all, right? Auto-generated. In minutes, it gave us 80% of those things that the humans came up with. So that's a lot faster. Well, you still have to solve for the 20%. But that's not the end of the whole issue, right? Because to me, the superpower is not just coming up with the ideas, right? Ideas like what Sunju said. I mean, the example she gave was wow, but I think the principles remain the same. It's just finding those connections, right? And if you can find those connections, then you're halfway there, really. To answer your question, how do we get past some of these blockers? I think the key thing from my experience is number one, building belief that we can do it. And number two, having communities of practice.
What do you think we need to do to be able to sort of engender more more creatively confident Singapore?
Actually, I thought we were quite creative, I would say that if I were to ask myself, how can we help Singapore to be even more creative? Number one, as parents, as auntie, uncle, as friends, as peers, as cousins, if people want to choose a different path, let's not discourage them. I think that's number one we can do. A lot of us want to do the safe way and say, hey, crazy, why you quit your job? You got this well-paid job, I think we should always encourage people to try different things as a society and not always the proven path. I think that's number one.
Okay.
So it's not about what school can do more, because society is the one that entrench people in certain practices and perspective. So I think we should loosen up a little bit to do that. I think number two is actually workplaces. The workplaces create opportunity for people to have the space to participate in doing something different. Act fast, fail fast, as you always mention. Act fast, fail fast. There's no need to penalize, and that they need the space to do so. I think the more, now that with AI coming in, AI become an everyday tools. I use the everyday tools. Is not designed for somebody who are experts. So I think the everyday tools should be encouraged to use and then try it out from basic use to more advanced usage. I think that's quite important. Yeah.
In addition to the question around sort of what are the blockers, cultural, systematic, or personal that prevent creativity, can you also think about, if you want creative confidence to be a national strength, what role do you think leaders, educators, and organizations play in creating these conditions?
I think as a country, what we need to do is, instead of talking about AI and saying it's, hey, great news, it's going to give you more time, they smile weakly because they're really afraid. Then that means the next thing, they're not going to be needed anymore. So what we need to do is, we need to tell people, before we introduce AI into the company, this is going to give you some more time. Let's talk about what we'd like you to do with that time. When you do that, people relax, because now they're in a highly expensive city, and young people especially, it's so expensive for them.
Yeah.
So we need to give people the reassurance that their job is secure and that they can now be creative, and we'll give them some time for it, because it's a tough world out there for everyone.
I mean, they're kind of doubling down on that, because I think that's something all of y'all have mentioned. To be creative, to be innovative, you actually need time. And what you're saying is actually AI will give you that time. And with that time, don't just cram it with more, but to be able to kind of release that for thinking of new things and new ideas.
I think all of us here recognize that Singapore is a always work in progress. We are always evolving. We never stay static since day one. And those of us, maybe my age, will recall once upon a time, there were no computer in Singapore. And we have a national computer program to make sure everybody know what is a mouse, how to turn on the computer. But today we have no doubt about using devices. We have multiple devices. So then we went through a series of upskilling everybody. Whether you use computer or you must know how to turn on computer, use a mouse. And now today we just use it. So AI will be another round. So basically, if we've done it before, we'll do it again. So don't be afraid. I thought that is something quite important. I also want to highlight a point that to be successful in this AI age is not just about being creative. I think Bill highlighted in his keynote earlier on about collaborations, because nothing happens alone. We cannot do things, we cannot initiate change alone. What's behind this creative confidence is about stepping forward, participate in the change, better still, initiate the change and lead the change. with others. So I think to be successful is really about doing that and ask ourselves about what value are we creating today, because now no longer going to work and say, hey, today I come into work, I just do my everyday routine, turn on my computer, do the same old same. But what can we do more, or maybe do less to do more? Do less
I like
to do
that.
more,
Listen,
or totally don't do something. Like this task is rubbish. I want to stop doing. What Bill talked about it earlier on, the 5 mindsets is very important. Don't get carried away with being just creative. Actually, it's about initiating change. Yeah.
And that is a live demo to Mark's question earlier, which was, what can national leaders do, right, to help move us forward in terms of creativity? So it's really building belief, which Sunju just did through that example. It's about building a community of practice, which is kind of what we are doing here today, right? Encouraging each other in our journey to be more creative. And I think there's a third point on reducing the risk level as much as possible. Prototyping helps to reduce risk. And then what else? What other systems and structures can our leaders, national leaders, put in place? I think it'll revolve around these 3 things primarily.
I mean, I know creative confidence wasn't a sort of like, obvious thing when it came to sort of workforce strategy. But I mean, now that, have you thought about it? Where do you think it may fit in terms of our workforce strategy?
I would say that it is critically important for workplaces to really start thinking about how to realize this. So I think that small thing about creating opportunity, creating learning that is not scary, creating learning that is useful directly will be very important. And only workplaces can do that, I must say, because you have the safe space to do so. And that may be far more effective than sending them away and say, okay, you're going to figure out, but you don't create the opportunity for them back in the workplace to be able to directly use it.
Let's wrap up with something practical. Many of my audience will leave inspired, but they'll also be wondering, what can I actually do next to build my own creative confidence? If each of you could share one tangible, actionable thing that someone could start doing tomorrow, whether in their personal life, at work, or in learning, what would it be, and why does it work?
I love the point about bias to action. So the one thing is, you think of one goal you have and take one small step towards that.
Yeah, I would say the most important thing is to get in the kind of vibe of how AI solves problems. So sign up for a newsletter like TechCrunch. TechCrunch has stories on startups. Just read 3 short stories right there in your inbox. And that's it. Do it for 1 month. And I can almost guarantee you after that, you'll find yourself talking about connecting dots and thinking about how AI can solve problems. Stories is the most powerful way for something to appeal to us, to not seem burdensome, and to learn at the same time.
Wow. Mine is not AI. Mine is very practical. Choose something that you are uncomfortable to do. For example, like, you don't like cooking, but just try cooking. You don't like baking, just try baking. Because in order to strengthen and build the creative confidence muscle, I feel that we must be comfortable in the state of conscious incompetence. You understand conscious? That means I know I'm not good at it, but I want to do well. That conscious incompetence is a driving force for me in the P5 and still today. So I think in the stage of conscious income is very important. I think over time you feel that, hey, it's not bad, I can do that. Yeah, then you can try AI later on. Yeah.
Well, thank you to our panelists for your insights, and to all of you for being part of this conversation. Creativity isn't just about ideas, it's actually about the courage to act on them. And in the age of AI, that courage may well just be our greatest superpower.